Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah May from Mindfulness Exercises, and I think we are live right now on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on YouTube and on Instagram. And we are live on my own Instagram as well at Baja Surf Yoga. So welcome. We're going to give it a few minutes to let everyone who wants to join us for the meditation today to join us. And while we're waiting, feel free to just say hello in the chat. Let us know that you're here, that you're participating. Maybe let us know where you are listening in from. And you might even want to share whether or not you teach mindfulness and meditation to others. This morning's program brought to you by the Meditation Teacher Certification Program at mindfulnessexercises.com/certify. I see we got Eugenio from Argentina. We got someone from Portugal on Instagram with mindfulness exercises. I am in Mexico, in Baja California Sur. So it is Sunday morning where I am. Someone on LinkedIn asking if there's technical difficulties. Not on my end, as far as I can tell. So maybe refreshing your screen or trying, just refreshing your screen. Hopefully it's working now, Christine. But yeah, I'm Sarah May, and I'm so glad that all of you are joining us. I see people coming in now from Canada, Barcelona, Chile, Indonesia. So, it's really nice to just be reminded that we have community here all around the world that is joining together in the practice of meditation this morning. And of course, there are plenty of meditators who are just, meditating on their own at the same time that we are right now. And that's always, always nice to remember that as we practice, right? That we're never alone in our practice. So today, what I thought we would do is just take it back to basics and do a little breath awareness meditation, mindfulness of the breath. And before we get started, I just want to say a little something about mindfulness of breath. If choosing a breath as your meditation anchor, focusing in on what breathing feels like in the body. If that is a bit anxiety provoking for you, or if it feels uncomfortable in any way, you're of course welcome to choose any other anchor, perhaps something outside of the body. Maybe, for example, choosing sound. So I will be cueing breath and breath awareness during the meditation, but in your own mind, you can just replace that with the sound in the space all around you, or any other anchor that feels good for you in your practice. I also want to bring awareness to the fact that we will not be doing specifically like a concentration practice today. So when we talk about breath awareness, we're not talking about a tight single point of focus on the breath, in which we are excluding anything else. So really the invitation this morning is to think about this as though we are prioritizing breath in our awareness, but we're not trying to push anything else away. And in fact, we're welcome to notice what else arises in addition to breath. But the practice is really breath first, right? We can think of it as breath first. So it's a more loose and light and spacious awareness of breath, just lightly holding breath as a priority. but being perhaps a little more open about it, right? That's the invitation for the practice today. And of course, if you start the meditation and something changes for you, you're welcome to change, right? We can move during meditation. We can, let that leg that's falling asleep just stay asleep, or we can stretch it out, right? Um, we can start the practice uh, joining in on the intention of breath awareness. And if we start to feel unsafe for any reason, or if our discomfort goes a little beyond a window of tolerance, we are welcome to switch to a different anchor, right? Or to back off of the breath a little bit. So we always have agency over our own practice, regardless of what the teacher or what the guide says, right? So keep that in mind, and then let's go ahead and begin. So if you're not already in a place where you feel safe, where you feel comfortable, where you can enjoy some relative stillness, then hopefully you can walk yourself into that space. And when you get there, try to find a posture that allows for the body to be relatively still. A posture that balances comfort and ease with this sense of wakefulness, with a sense of alertness. Maybe it feels good to take a few deep, full breaths just to settle in. But then we want to just allow for the body to breathe itself. Just settle into whatever breath feels most easy and natural and normal for us. So we're not trying to breathe in any one certain way, but just letting the breath be as it is, right here and right now. And with eyes open or closed, just turning our awareness, our attention to breath. Lightly holding breath at the forefront of our awareness. And getting curious about what the breath is like right now. And so maybe settling on breath just outside of the body, watching breath as it enters and exits through the nose. Maybe it feels like it just makes more sense for us to settle on breath within the body. We might feel breath in one certain area of the body, or maybe we experience breath through the body as a whole. Just turning towards breath, Noticing how the breath is calling you in and accepting that invitation to practice presence with breath. And of course, breath might not be the only thing we notice here. There may be sounds or activity all around. There is activity within. As we practice breath awareness, the mind is still moving. Thoughts, maybe emotions coming and going. Aware perhaps of additional sensation in the body. Can we allow for all of that? Can we simply let it flow? While still prioritizing breath in our awareness. Allowing the breath to move in and out at the pace that it would like to. And allowing for everything else that is coming and going in our awareness. Perhaps recognizing that just like the breath, everything comes and goes. Allowing for this movement, allowing the body to breathe itself. Practicing presence with this breath and this moment just as it is. Some of what we notice about this experience, about the breath, might be pleasant. Some of what we notice about this moment and this breath might be uncomfortable or unpleasant. Can we allow for all of it equally? Practice presence with all of it. Just observing that moment, that movement of breath in and breath out. And again, if at any time our discomfort begins to move beyond the borders of our window of tolerance, we can get a little looser with our focus. We can open the eyes if they're closed. We can choose another anchor, moving from breath to sound, or looking at a single spot in the room around us, or just moving the eyes, touching the body or touching the ground. And when we're ready, when we feel resourced, maybe we try coming back to the breath again. Coming back to an awareness of breath that is spacious, that pushes nothing away. Just lightly holding breath. Without needing to exclude anything else. What is my breath like right here and right now? Can I accept each breath as perfectly okay? Just resting the mind wherever in the body I'm perhaps noticing the breath the most. Resting the mind on breath in whatever manner feels safest. Letting each breath out take as much time as it needs to, as it wants to. Offering the same patience to each breath in, giving myself permission to simply be, this curious observer of breath and what it's like to be breathing in this moment. Maybe just trying this presence with breath, practicing presence for about 7 more patient cycles of breath, all on your own. Lightly holding awareness on breath. No right or wrong, no good or bad, no better or best. Just practicing presence with this moment as is, as you are. And we'll take about 3 more slow cycles of breath, just breathing how we're breathing. And then if the eyes are closed, maybe slowly opening the eyes or opening the eyes and then closing them again, right? Just kind of baby stepping your way back into the space around you. Maybe bringing the hands to the thighs or the hands to the chair or the ground below you. Perhaps slowly stretching out a leg if you've been still. And before you run off, if you have the opportunity, just sitting here for a moment and noticing how you feel, noticing the effects of the practice and what is coming up for you. And even right here and right now, as we transition out of the practice, right? No right, no wrong, no better or best, right? Can we embrace the entirety of our experience? Can we embrace the practice? as it was, as is. Gratitude for all of it part of process, part of learning and growing, right? So trying to avoid this feeling of this one was good, this one was less good, or this one was bad, you know. All of our time spent in mindfulness um, is of benefit somehow, right? Um, so this morning, we did a little bit of a different practice, and I want to talk about it a little bit, especially for those of us who are teachers and for those of us who share mindfulness meditation with others. I just want to bring awareness to a few things that we did in the practice today to make it a bit more trauma sensitive or trauma informed, right? This practice of breath awareness. Um, as we began the practice, or before we even began the practice, right? We talked a little bit about using breath as an anchor, and I intentionally invited people to choose a different anchor, especially one outside of the body, for example, sound, because sometimes turning towards the body and turning towards the breath for some people can be a bit stressful or a bit anxiety provoking, right? So that's one thing that we did. The second thing that we did was to remind everyone that this is not a concentration practice, right? The practice we did today is mindfulness versus single pointed focus, right? Or single pointed concentration. So as a reminder, that kind of invites us to prioritize the breath in our awareness, but we're holding the breath perhaps a little more loosely, a little more lightly. We're not focusing on the breath to the exclusion of anything else, right? So we might notice the space around us. We might notice sounds or movement around us. We might, be aware of movement within the mind, thoughts coming and going, for example, or other sensations in the body, right? My knee is a little tight right now, or there's movement in the belly, and so on and so on. We can allow for all of that and still prioritize breath in our awareness, in our practice, right? And so there's a little more spaciousness perhaps in that for us to move and shift and flow a little bit with our experience. And that can help us feel a little more safe and supported and resourced, right? Before we started, there was also this invitation, right? Not to necessarily follow my guidance or, but to choose your own path, right? If something changes for you in the meditation, you can always change, right? You can always move the body, you can always open or move the eyes. You can choose a different anchor or move away from the breath and then maybe try to come back as you feel more resourced, right? And so we did all those reminders at the beginning before we even started the practice. And then we revisited those. I revisited those a little bit during the practice as I was guiding, right? Reminding a little bit that we have agency, that we're not focusing exclusively on the breath, and so on. So uh, another thing that we did during the practice, right? I specifically and intentionally invited you all to notice the breath in the body in the way that makes the most sense for you. This is in contrast to directing someone, for example, to notice the breath just as it's moving in and out through the nose, or notice the breath only in the chest or only in the belly, right? So, one of the things we can do to make the practice a bit more trauma sensitive is first inviting versus directing, right? But secondly, allowing for an experience of the breath that feels safest in your body, right? Um, and then another thing that we did during the practice was to intentionally normalize the range of experiences that can occur as we pay attention to the breath, right? So, for example, sometimes what we're noticing in our meditation is pleasant, right? Sometimes what we're noticing is unpleasant. And again, the invitation was to stay, to practice presence with all of that equally. And if what we're noticing is unpleasant or uncomfortable and it gets a little too far outside of what we can tolerate at this moment, right? There was an invitation to then um, shift the point of focus to something else, right? So these are just a few examples of ways that we can bring trauma sensitivity to our mindfulness practice. We can do this before we present the meditation, thread trauma sensitive cueing throughout the meditation, and even after the meditation. Today there was an invitation to, just sit for a little bit after the meditation and just notice what your experience was, notice what you're feeling in the body. And again, there was a reminder there that there's no, good meditation, no bad meditation. All meditations are equally useful, right? Regardless of what our experience may have been. So, for those of you who are interested in learning more about how to teach meditation in a way that is safe, in a way that helps people feel more resourced, in a way that helps put people more at ease, perhaps, or feel more grounded in their practice. There are two resources that I would like to share with you in the chat, in the comments. First, of course, is the teacher training program at Mindfulness Exercises, and this is a comprehensive self-paced program that is for everyone, that can help you get started with learning how to teach mindfulness meditation. So I just posted that on Facebook and on YouTube. And for those of you on LinkedIn, I will post it here in a moment. Um, and the other resource is a foundational course on how to teach meditation specifically with a little more trauma awareness, trauma sensitivity, right? And this second course is for people who are already teaching mindfulness and meditation, and perhaps just wanna be a little more trauma informed in how they are doing this, right? So yeah, and Ashley, really good comment there on LinkedIn, says I can never breathe through my nose when I meditate, and that's perfectly okay, right? One of the reminders early in the practice today was, just allowing the body to breathe itself and allowing the body to breathe in whatever way invites in the most comfort and ease, right? So for some people, breathing in and out through the nose helps bring the parasympathetic nervous system online. It can be very relaxing and calming. And for some people, breathing in and out through the nose feels uncomfortable, right? Or can provoke more stress, more anxiety, especially if there's a blockage in the nose, or um, you know we might have some allergies or something like that, right? So we just let the body choose how to breathe and let the body breathe in whatever way feels most comfortable. There's no right or wrong. So great reminder. Thanks, Ashley. And there's all of these different ways that we can just help people to feel safer, more supported, more resourced in their practice. So today was just one small example of that. And I hope you explore the resources at mindfulnessexercises.com to learn a little bit more about trauma sensitivity in your practice. We have free resources up there as well, the podcast and blogs on teaching with trauma sensitivity. So visit the site, and perhaps I will also see you in one of these courses, our certification program, or the trauma sensitive mindfulness course for teachers. So, thank you again, everyone, for joining me here this morning. And thank you so much for your participation, for your comments, for just saying hello. Again, always wonderful to know that we're never alone in our practice. And we are always joined by others in this wonderful journey. So may you be well, may you be safe, and may you bring greater presence and awareness to the rest of your day. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.